Good evening, my friends. How are we? And you are welcome along to Thursday night's late night agenda. I won't lie, I was singing along to the theme tune. I was just double checking my mic was on mute at the time, but I was singing along. And don't tell me you weren't. It's catchy. Even if you don't like it, it's catchy. Admit it. Go on. See? You feel better, don't you? I hope we're all in good form this evening, ladies and gents. We're going to be asking a question tonight, basically. What's going on with the Trent situation and who's lying and who's giving us false hope? That's basically where I want to go with it tonight because, in all honesty, I haven't got a clue. But I know I feel really comfortable in saying one thing, that we're all tired of it, right? And I know the irony of me saying we're tired of it while speaking about it isn't lost on me, but it is something that I feel like we've got to address because I'd love him to stay. You'd love him to stay. Heck, we'd all love him to stay. But it doesn't feel like that's the direction that this is going. So I want to just ask tonight what you guys feel about it. Because today I've seen varying reports. And of course I'll go through them as we go on this evening. But, you know, my biggest gripe is I just hate Liverpool fans being lied to. And I know which side I believe. More on that in a moment. Sonny, first super chat of the night. And ironically, it's on the subject we're discussing, my man. And thank you as always, sir. Said, this Trent to Madrid thing has been over for months now. Everybody knows he's going to play in white next season, and I'm sick of hearing about it. No hate to you. No, I get it. I get it, Sonny. And look, you never have to say no hate to me, bro. I know you. You're around a long time. You don't ever mean anything hateful. You haven't got a hateful bone in your body, Sonny. But it is tiring, right? You are right. We are all getting tired of discussing it. So just to give you a flavour of what I'm talking about, I guess. And look, I don't mean any hate at anybody speaking about this, but I was flicking through things today, and you see the usual updates from the likes of Fabrizio Romano, who says, you know, he's going to Real Madrid. You see David Ornstein saying it's looking likely he's going to Real Madrid. So then I'm flicking through, and I see this piece on the Echo, and we were so confused by it that, no joke, Connor actually said to me, was that today? Like, did they put that out today? Can you just go back and check that it was today? So I did, and yes, it was 9 o'clock this morning. And it reads as follows. Trent Alexander-Arnold is the remaining high-profile star who will be a free agent at the end of the season. Real Madrid are waiting in the wings to have been able to speak to the 26-year-old since January, with reports suggesting they remain confident of signing him when his deal expires. So far, no problem with anything there written. Sounds about right. But then, here comes the line that has me confused. And genuinely, no hate intended here, but they write, the Echo reported yesterday that the Reds are still hopeful a deal can be struck with Alexander-Arnold to join Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk in extending their time at the club. And the headline of it was, Echo latest, Liverpool hopeful of Alexander-Arnold extension, or Trent Alexander-Arnold extension. Now look, I'm not trying to hate on people, but there's a very different picture being painted on the two sides of this scenario. One, you have hope for Liverpool fans who probably have been not feeling much of that around the Trent situation, and that's what makes me worried. Because when that hope is reignited in fans, and look, it has been over the weekend with some Liverpool fans, that's just going to lead to a bigger backlash, in my opinion, when the inevitable happens. Now, of course, if Trent Alexander-Arnold decides to stay at Liverpool, we'll all celebrate it. We'd be delighted about it. But it isn't looking likely. So what help is that type of post, is my ask here. I just don't understand. Unless they know something that every other credible journalist doesn't seem to know, I'm really confused by it. Oh, and also, this is Anfield can go fuck themselves as well. Let me just get that in early. Apparently, we've been blocked on X by them. And hand on heart, I don't ever remember our Twitter account having an interaction with them, saying anything about them, or doing anything derogatory towards them. But what I do know is certain unnamed journalist writes with them, so I'm sure our name has been sullied there. So if that's all it takes, fair enough, but my God, how petty are some people. There you go. Never even mentioned them, never spoken about them, never belittled them, don't have anything bad to say about them because I don't know them, but blocked just for somebody else's words about us. Good lads. Right, nothing new to report on Trent. Says, this is the Mank Echo, said Alex. And look, I don't know. I'm hoping they know something we don't. I don't. I mean, people know a lot of stuff I don't. But I'm very confused by this because I don't really understand where the hope comes from. You know, in the same day, we've had David Ornstein say, Trent Alexander-Arnold is expected to join Real Madrid as a free agent. Now, on the thumbnail tonight, you're going to see the couple of quotes, and one of them is a post from Anfield Sector with the David Ornstein stuff. Just want our friends at Anfield Sector to know that in no way are we trying to say they're lying. They're just the ones that posted the Ornstein quote that we wanted to use. So I want to make it very clear, nothing but admiration and respect for our friends at Anfield Sector. And of course, they're just bringing the news together and putting it out there. So, Trent Alexander-Arnold expected to join Real Madrid as a free agent, says David Ornstein. So, I know which side I think is right in this, and that is certainly the David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano side. But again, fans' emotions being tired with, we're all fed up of it. Just let us know what you're doing. I don't like what they said on the overlap, calling some of us not proper fans for booing Trent on Sunday. Well, let me address that, Troy, and I'm going to bring your comment up. I don't usually do this, but I do want to bring this up because it's important. So what Troy is discussing there is Jamie Carragher on the overlap, I believe, saying that he had some mates that were at the Leicester game and there was this good... Can someone just let me know if I'm still live? Because I'm getting a spinning wheel thing here on YouTube for some reason. I don't know why. So just give me a thumbs up to say that we're still live and we'll carry on. This is getting ridiculous. We're back. I don't know what's going on. Twitch, my browser keeps opening up Twitch pages for no reason. Just out of nowhere, it'll open up a page on Twitch. And I don't know why. And it does it over and over and over again. And I can't figure out how to stop it. And that's what's changing there. It was opening up a new page and made the stream kind of freeze. So anyway, let me get back to my post. It was about Jamie Carragher's comment. This is what Alex was saying on the overlap, or Troy on the overlap. He basically said, you know, real fans shouldn't boo Trent. You don't boo somebody in your own shirt. And I get it. I'm not disagreeing with Carrot in that regard. Although, I think there would be some exceptions, one namely being El Hadj Diouf. But remember who the travelling Reds are. They are people that go week in and week out. They are hardcore fans. They are ones that I think deserve a voice and an opinion. And if they decided that Trent was worth booing, you know, they're certainly match-hardened fans who go week in and week out. You know, you don't get to just pick and travel to away games. It's very, very difficult to get tickets. So those fans who were there, they knew what they were doing. They know they have every right to their say. And if they're booing Trent, well, maybe for a second, let's just realise that some fans are really pissed off with Trent. And if we can't acknowledge that, I don't know what else to say. So yeah, look, ladies and gents, I'm going to get to Stevie Boy's Super Chat, but as you can see, we are being brought to you tonight with thanks to our incredible sponsors at Surfshark. And I will be back in just 65 quick seconds after a word from our incredible sponsors when we'll get stuck into all the latest news, including some good news around the future of Dean Huijsen. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. And we are back, and thank you once again to our incredible sponsor Surfshark. Right, Stevie Boy, I was holding this comment back because I wanted to spend a moment or two addressing it because I absolutely agree. So Stevie Boy said it would only take one man to stop all the speculation. It would. And what we hear, Stevie Boy, is that he's been respectful of the club, which, again, I argue, how is it being respectful to allow this to develop? But look, I did want to go over and over the Trent stuff again, but it's just becoming a bit jarring at this point, you know? tell us what's going on, or yeah, just tell us what's going on. There's no or really to it. Right, let's talk about Dean Huijsen for a minute, because there's a bit of breaking news on this one that said Liverpool are confident of striking a deal for Dean Huijsen. Liverpool have held positive talks with his agent, and there's optimism. Huijsen's camp view Anfield as the likely destination. That comes from Dean Jones Soccer via Gimme Sport. So credit to those guys for the piece. I told you guys 3 days ago what I called an exclusive here on the channel, and I noticed nobody picked up on it anywhere, but I told you where his preference was, and that was to come to Liverpool. I did say that it was far from a done deal and that there was plenty of work still to be done. But like I said, all this Chelsea guff is just Chelsea putting out there to try and make sure that favourable coverage goes towards them. But Liverpool are very much in the hunt for Dean Huijsen's signature, as of course are Arsenal and Chelsea and other clubs. But I've said to you, I believe he wants to be at Liverpool. I believe he wants to play alongside and learn from Virgil, and we're very much in the hunt. So keep an eye on this one as the summer develops. Right. Exactly. How in the name of garbage is that respectful? He should come out and tell us what's going on. I'm tired of these rumours every single day. It's pathetic. It's getting exhausting. Yep, it is. Craig, I think Trent will clarify the situation if we win with Spurs on Sunday. Thoughts? Look, my honest thoughts on this situation are that he's made it worse and worse and worse. So the only way out of this now, without him getting real pushback from a lot of fans, is to stay. If he is going, then we've got the ripping off the shirt and celebrating stuff. We've got the this stuff. We've got that very weird Adidas post with googly eyes. There's a lot of stuff that is intentionally been there to lead fans to believe that there's hope. And if that hope is extinguished, honestly, it's going to be a lot of hurt Liverpool fans. Now, I've never believed he's staying. I've always thought he was off. I hope he stays, but expect the backlash that will come if we announce he's departing. And it doesn't matter how many people tell Liverpool fans how to feel. Truth of the matter is, people are entitled to feel how they do. If people are cool about it, sound. If people are angry about it, sound. If people think Trent's free to do what he wants, sound. But you don't get to tell everybody how to feel. People feel annoyed. Let them. People feel nonplussed. Let them. He's handling it like a coward. Pundits really need to stop telling fans how to feel, said Hex. I know, it's very easy to tell us how to feel when it isn't their club. Same with Paul Merson. If this was Saka walking out of Arsenal for free to join Real Madrid, can you imagine the meltdown? And the answer to that is usually, well, he's won everything there is to win at Liverpool. And win more. Win more. Right. Do you want to talk about the craziest link of the day? Because this is absolutely nuts. And it's not something I ever thought I'd be reading out on the channel. But Caught Offside posted to say, breaking. Now, you might want to sit down for this one, folks. Breaking. Liverpool are exploring a shock move for Chelsea's Cole Palmer. Another Premier League club have also inquired recently, and they said full story to follow. So, look, do I for 1 second think that Liverpool are signing Cole Palmer? No, I don't. Not even a little bit. And I'll go a little bit further. I don't know if I'd even want them at Liverpool. There are players that I think are far, far better and more suited to us that would be a hell of a lot cheaper. So, you know, to see that maybe he wants out with Chelsea already, that I'm not too surprised about, because Chelsea have been very hit and miss, particularly in the transfer market. They're again on the edge of qualification or non-qualification for the Champions League. But another thing about Chelsea caught my eye last night watching Sky Sports, and it's the sheer amount of money that they've spent since 2022. I don't know if you guys know this exact number, but let me just read it out to you. So the number is, Chelsea have made 46 signings since the summer of 2022 and spent just a smidgen below 1.3 billion Great British pounds. 1.3 billion. Now, of course, they've brought in money. It would be unfair of me to say that they haven't brought in money. But how are they getting away with it? 46 signings, 1.3 billion spent, And every big name you see, Chelsea are being linked with again. Huijsen, they're there linked with them. Delap, they're linked with them. How? Because am I wrong, or were we all told that if Chelsea didn't get Champions League football 2 seasons ago, they were in huge trouble with PSR and their calculations? There's only so many hotels and women's teams they can sell to themselves. When are they going to be held to account? It's mad. 1.3 billion. Palmer has 5 Premier League goal involvements this year and 2 in October/November, said Mukrab. Genuinely, there are far better deals out there for me than him coming to Liverpool, or us even talking about him. Like, for instance, Morgan Rogers would make a lot more sense to me as a Liverpool fan. Anfield Agenda was gifted 5 memberships. The community was by Jen. Thank you, Jen. Really appreciate that. Just want to make sure I don't miss something else actually that came through. Done Stevie boys. Was there one there before that I missed? John Corrigan. There you go. Thank you, John, as well, by the way. Appreciate you, my friend. Right, so I want to ask a poll about the Trent situation. I want to ask who you guys think is right on this one, so bear with me. One sec, let's just type this out. So, who's right about Trent? Okay. Let me just make sure. Okay, and then the other one. Right, so I'm going to ask the question, who is right about Trent? The one saying he's leaving or the one saying that he's staying? So that poll is up. You guys crack away in it and we'll return to it in a while. Right, some more comments. I'd rather Anthony Santos than Palmer. I'd rather play Ali central attacking midfield, said Mukrab. All this chat about transfers happens every window and Liverpool's owners don't pull up the cash, so why is this window going to be any different? Well, I guess the reason we have at least some hope for it to be different is there's been so much reporting that Liverpool are going big in this window, that Liverpool have top targets in this window, that Liverpool have assessed and have money ready. So again, I'm like you, my man. I'm waiting to be convinced of why these owners are suddenly going to have a change of tact, but let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what the summer looks like. John and Tom Werner out said, Craig, I have a weird feeling we're going to activate Frimpong's release clause. Rotation between him and Bradley could be really good. They complement each other. He can also rotate with Salah. Look, it's certainly an option. You know, I'll be honest as always, I don't know. You know, if I know something, I'll let you know. On this one, haven't got a clue. If Trent leaves, it makes sense that they bring in another right back of some ilk, whether to compete with Conor Bradley, to deputise for Conor Bradley, or in case Conor Bradley picks up a knock. So yeah, definitely makes sense. Just who that right back is, I'd be a liar if I sat here and told you I have any indication on it. I don't know. Huijsen and Kirkes or FSG out, said Alex Macklin. Well, look, there is a lot of optimism around those 2 signings coming to Liverpool. Kirkes, I would think, is probably the one I would say is most likely, but again, it's transfer time. Anything can happen. My concern with this summer is how long we wait to sell somebody before making a move. So, for instance, let's say we have a centre-forward target that we want. Is it going to be somebody that's in demand, who, if we hang around too long, maybe we lose? Or is it somebody who knows the situation and is willing to be patient for Liverpool to sell Darwin or whomever it might be? That's the interesting part of this window to me, versus what we get done quickly and early. So, consensus is centre-forward, left-back, probably the 2 most demanding positions we need to sign. But then again, we'd probably have to make a sale in both those departments as well. Bruno, the Cruz, said, talking is cheap, actions speak louder than words. Absolutely. And this is why I've been so willing to just sit back and say, right, well, let's see what happens, because Everyone's painted themselves into a corner. We've been told there's a plan A, B, and C. We've been told Hughes and Edwards are, absolute geniuses with little black books with contacts that you wouldn't believe. So let's see them start putting these contacts to use in our favour. Because if that happens, brilliant. We'll all be delighted about it. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be a lot of frustrated Liverpool fans. But you know what? I do think we'll go a good part of the way to get the business done this summer. But I don't know if this is my greed, but I still feel like we'll be left somewhat wanting in certain departments. Like we'll get 70% of what we need to get done, and the other 30% we'll get an excuse for. So I guess it'll be a matter of how much we'd be happy about that or not. I heard Man City going for Kirkes as well. Yeah, their name has been mentioned, but again, a lot of groundwork being done there by Liverpool. And I can't say this enough times, but Manchester City have a lot of headaches hanging over them that needs to be resolved as well. So let's wait and see there. Tanya Connor said, we need to strike while the iron's hot. No sales versus incomings, just buy as required. Exactly. I agree. Let me ask you guys a quick question about the weekend, actually, on the Spurs game. And I want your answers to this because it's going to help me do my predicted 11. So I'm recording that tomorrow, but I'm on the fence about the left-back situation for this game. So what do you guys think is going to happen at left-back? Do you think it's more likely we see Costas come in or Robbo? Because I'm edging to go with Costas at this point because started the last couple. And honestly, I think did quite well. So let me know in the chat what you think. Is it going to be Robbo or Costas for the game of the weekend? Philly Reds, Costas, Mukrab, Costas, Nathan, Tsimikas. Who else have we got in here? Tsimikas for Tanya as well. Costas for Mark. Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards Costas. Mark reckons Robbo will start. Costas for Ian Greenstreet. Rob, lovely to see you, my man. Robbo for Alex Macklin. Robbo for Sharon Evans. See, now you can see why I'm so confused, because it is a real noodle scratcher for me on that one. I can get through most of the other team. I've one more names to put, one more decision I'd like you to help me with. That's probably the easiest way of saying it. The other conundrum I have is in midfield. Normally, I would say Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai is nailed on. But I wonder, will he go with Jones over Szoboszlai because of the title being at stake? Because it's at home and because he thinks maybe it'll bring that bit more out of Curtis. This isn't meant in any way as a slight to Dom, but I am wondering if the manager would lead into Curtis Jones because this one is at Anfield and this is the one we want to get over the line, or if he sticks to Dom. I'm intrigued by those two. So left back and that midfield slot are the two that I think are debatable going into the weekend. A lot of people feeling Jones. Yeah, and do you know what? I think it could well be Jones. And again, no slight meant to Dom. You know, if Dom plays, happy days, no issues there. But I just get a feeling. You know, I just get that feeling that the Anfield factor, the Scouse factor, I think Arna may lean into that for Sunday. But then again, I might be overthinking this, right? There's every chance that's possible as well. Dom is very tired, said Just Marty. Go with Jones. Sean Lester said Robbo. Dom, last 10-15 minutes, said Tanya. DJ said, hey Craig, do you think we could have gone for Cunha as a long-term replacement for Salah? Do you know what? The Cunha stuff I find interesting. The way it's been portrayed in the media, it's making it sound like there's a race for Cunha's signature, whereas really I don't think there is. You know, Manchester United seem to be making a big play for Matheus Cunha, and it looks like it's going well, according to reports. But let's not make any mistake about this. If Arsenal, Liverpool, City, if any of those clubs actually wanted to sign Matheus Cunha, then he would be coming to those clubs. For me, this looks like nobody else is willing to pay that release clause and that Manchester United are stepping up to try and get it done. On Delap, and I want to credit our Discord group on this, I don't want to give out the person's name in case they don't want to give it out. But there was a part in our Discord group where somebody had received some, what sounds very credible, information about the future of where Delap is going, and Chelsea is the name that has been put forward. And I spent a little bit of time today just checking in that, and Chelsea's a very, very likely destination for young Delap. So keep your eye on that one as well, because I know United have been pursuing Liam Delap, but the information from the Discord and the information again that I'm trying to dig deeper on suggests that it could very well be Chelsea for Delap. Salah stay, no pay cut. Why were we linked to Kvaratskhelia? It could have been for the other side. So the Kvaratskhelia link could have been the Diaz situation, Adrian, because I still expect that there's a good chance that Luis Diaz leaves this summer. That's all I can think of. You know, that maybe they were looking at him on the left-hand side to compete with Gakpo. But look, Kvaratskhelia, as we know, is a Paris Saint-Germain player. And no pay cut, but looks like a pay rise for Mohamed Salah. I mean, there's been two reports, one saying 20 million quid a year, one saying 25 million quid a year. So you were looking at either 380, 400 grand a week, or 480, something in and around that mark. I don't know which deal is the right one. I'd start Jones, as it's only Spurs, said Kev Parker. Jones to start, said George Edwards as well. I think Delap would fit well at Chelsea, said Wesley. Certainly would go with their model of young players who are, you know, potentially ready to break through. But again, let me just go back to this, that it's a Sky Sports graphic to give the full credit. And it said Chelsea signings in summer 2022. They've made 46 signings and spent 1.3 billion. So I don't know how any player can look at that situation and think, stability, let's go. Weird one. Looks like Leeds could be considering sacking their manager that just got them promoted. And here's the even weirder part. I think it'd be the right decision. Daniel Farke, as we know, has come up with Norwich and gone back down. He's come up with Leeds, and I just think that this is actually a logical decision. Nothing against Daniel Farke, but to stay in the Premier League, you need to have a certain defensive solidity, and you need to have a certain style, and this open expansive style doesn't really seem to work for teams coming up. So when I seen it, and I seen the conversation around why last night, I thought it made a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean, it sounds so harsh, doesn't it? Get your club promoted up and then get sacked. But genuinely, I think I can understand maybe why, if that's the case. And we should also talk a little bit about Jamie Vardy for a second. Announced he'd be departing Leicester City in the summer. And look, for a man that only really played Premier League football from the age of 27, I don't particularly like him, but give respect where it's due. Jamie Vardy is a great example of why you don't give up as a sports person, man or woman. Keep going, keep chasing your dream. 27, and he finally got up to the Prem. He won a Premier League title. He's played in Champions League. You know, give him his credit and wish him the very best with whatever he does for the rest of his life, because it's definitely a kind of a rocky story, his rise in football. Stevie Boy said the hype-around Liverpool transfer window... sorry, let me read this out again. The hype-around Liverpool transfer window, what's it got to do with Hughes knowing the two players in question or FSG ready to spend the cash? So, from my understanding of the two signings there that came in to Bournemouth, Andoni Iraola was apparently more responsible for Kirkes than Hughes, from my understanding. Now, with regards to Dean Huijsen, I don't know. It's just speaking with somebody before, much closer to Kirkes' side. Apparently, it was more down to do with Iraola. But look, Arne Slot would know a lot about him as well, because he was at AZ Alkmaar, I think, before he went to Bournemouth. Now, if I'm wrong on that, I apologise, but I think it was AZ. And yeah, again, let's wait and see what happens, Stevie Boy. Now, again, I'm trying to be fair about this window. I'm not expecting a 300 million net spend. As long as we feel like we've upgraded in the positions, I don't really care how much money spent or how little money spent. It's all to do with getting the right squad for me. So if you brought in silly money for players that aren't going to make it at Liverpool and reinvest that in better players for less money, I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. But we have to see what happens first. So, example, if we sell Darwin for 60 and bring in Akitika for 60 and Akitika goes and scores 25 next season, I'm not going to complain about the fact that we didn't have to add money on top of that or much money on top of it, you know? So I'm willing to be fair in my analysis of these things, but yeah, I do want to see action and not procrastination. Just Marty said, Connor Cody said a lack of continuity with managers had a major impact on Leicester being relegated, that and being crap. Alex said, I feel sorry for Fark if he leaves. Yeah, but I kind of respect the ruthlessness from Leeds on it because, you know, if you remove emotion from that decision, it is a decision you can understand with all due respect to Daniel Fark. Right, let's check back in and see how we're doing on our poll. One sec. So, we asked, who's right about Trent? Again, we still want to get up to 1,000 votes on this, so if you haven't voted, please do. And the question is, the one saying that he's leaving or the one saying that he's staying? Who was right about Trent? So far, it's pretty one-sided, but we'll leave that there and come back to it in a couple of moments' time. Craig, are you going to include the 177 mil on the net spendometer? No. I should probably reference that 177 million that you're speaking about there, my friend. Thank you for bringing it up, by the way, because I probably would have forgotten to mention it. So, and again, credit, I think it was David C. Kopp that posted this one. Liverpool could earn 177 million pound by winning the Premier League. There's a breakdown then that said the equal share prize money that goes to all clubs in the Premier League, £95 million. Title prize money, an additional £56.4 million. Television appearance money, £25.2 million. International TV bonuses, £8.1 million. And in total, that means that Liverpool could make £177 million from winning the Premier League this year. The other very interesting stat came at the start of the season when Liverpool were given just a 5.1% chance to win the Premier League by the bookmakers. 5.1. Now, 100% chance, of course. It just goes to show what an incredible job Arne Slot has done. And it's why I get particularly wound up over anybody who tries to just say it's been a crap Premier League, because I think that's really unfair. And the job that Arne Slot has done. And it's also, and I can't say this strongly enough, not our problem if other people underperform. Craig, it's been a year almost, but haven't seen much of scouting work from Richard Hughes at DJ. Well, you know what? My mindset is, let's wait and see. And I'm sorry I keep saying that, but I'm hopeful that during that year, everything has been put together. So Arne's had time to assess the squad. So check. Arne will know what he wants. The lads have had a chance to get their feet under the table, speak with the scouting, look into the data, and put together their plan of action for the summer. For the summer. So we've had all year to do it. You know, 2 contract extensions were done throughout the year for the first teamers. Other than that, you know, you would imagine they've been spending their entire time looking and planning for the summer. So, no excuses. Right, Florian Plettenberg. This could make the deal for Liverpool even more attractive for Dean Huijsen because of what Florian Plettenberg said. So, he said, what makes the release clause for Dean Huijsen even more interesting is that the £50 million doesn't have to be paid immediately. it has been contractually agreed that the clause can be paid in 3 installments. All interested clubs have been informed of this. Talks with several clubs are ongoing. No decision has been made. So basically, clubs can klarna this. Clubs can pay it in 3 installments, which makes it easier. Because if you have to trigger a release clause in one go, a lot of the time that's a big chunk of money coming out of a club. So to be able to do this in 3 stages certainly appeals to, I'm sure, a lot of clubs. So again, I think that's another reason in the likely column for us, because, you know, we love doing that, don't we? We love triggering a release clause, but if you can spread it over a few years, nothing wrong with that either. You know, whatever works best accounting-wise for the club, but at least we know it's possible and it's into the contract. I just hope Huijsen would be willing enough to be a rotation player. Well, I wonder there, Chris. There is a very good chance he wouldn't have to be because, and again, I take no pleasure in saying this, but the Ibrahim Konate situation is one that we should be concerned about as fans. You know, no breakthrough. According to multiple reports from the likes of Romano and I think even Paul Joyce, no good vibes coming around it, no new breakthrough in those conversations, and it's gone very, very cold. So there could be a world where he's sold and Huijsen's brought in. There could also be a world where, and again, we covered this last night, Kwanzaa's either loaned or sold and Huijsen's brought in. But either way, I don't think it would be a difficult sell because we would have time. We got lucky with centre-back injuries this year. But Dean Huijsen will have to be shown that there is a developmental plan for him. There's no denying that. You know, he went to Bournemouth to develop and he's done so well. And the next stage of his career, he'll want the same. I think we can offer him that, to be fair. So I don't see that being a huge issue in the conversation. I am still concerned about Konate, though, because nobody seems to know where the club's head's at with it. And again, nobody seems to know where Ibu's head's at with it either. Mahmood said, is it really the end for Ibu at Liverpool? I honestly don't have a clue, mate. You know, I said to you guys what I knew about Kwanzaa, that it was highly likely that he could be moved on. Now, I didn't think of the loan aspect of it. That was never mentioned to me. That came up in an article yesterday. But, you know, I have been pretty upfront with you guys saying that I don't think Arne Slot is been fully convinced by Kwanzaa. So I think there may be a world where he's moved on. But I was hoping that would be after we've seen a contract extension for Ibrahim Konate, because let's be honest, nobody wants to lose Ibu. Alex Hardy said, I don't think Huijsen would have to wait much. He'll be ahead of Kwanzaa and Gomez should stay. VVD might not be able to play as many matches the older he gets, before you mentioned Konate, etc. Exactly, and there'd be nothing wrong with being able to give Virgil a nice little rest or rotate a player in. Yeah, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Let's talk Champions League for a minute. So obviously, you know, certain club fans tuning in might want to zone out for a minute here. We're talking big boy competitions. But let's talk Champions League, because there is some potential rule changes coming into the Champions League. There are 3 changes that UEFA are thinking about changing in the Champions League from next season. No extra time in games, straight to penalties. That's an interesting one. And it would certainly help with the player welfare side of things. The second one is that clubs that finish in the top 8 in the league table will get the following games at home, which will be the quarterfinal, semi-final of the Champions League, will have their second legs guaranteed at home. That should have been in from the start for me. If you go and get yourself into a top 8 position, for me it makes sense that you should get to play the second legs of the knockout stages at your home ground, or where's the advantage there? And no teams from the same country can play each other before the quarterfinal. So these are 3 changes that are at least under discussion from UEFA. And of course, they'd have to be voted for. But let me know your thoughts on those 3 changes. So teams finishing in the top 8 will be guaranteed to have the second leg of a knockout round at home. No playing teams in your same country till the quarterfinals. And no extra time straight to penalties would probably be the biggest one. And I'm on the fence about the extra time one, because it is one way of helping out players, and player welfare is important in this day and age. And then there's the traditional aspect of it as well. Yeah, sometimes extra time can be a bit boring, but there's also times where extra time gives some crazy endings. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on this one, but I guess ultimately there will have to be some changes to player welfare for the sheer amount of minutes they're having to play these days. Right, let's check back in on this poll. 1 second. So the question was, who was right about Trent? The ones that say he's leaving or the ones that say he's staying? We need 50 more votes before we get to the tally that we like, which is the 1,000 sample size. So if you haven't voted, take a quick second and vote away on that one. My goodness, it's great being a Liverpool fan, said Daddy Bingham. It is. And 1 point, ladies and gents. 1 little point. That's all that's required. And I don't know about anybody else, but that kind of felt like the perfect scenario last night. I didn't want Arsenal to be defeated and us to win the league, not on the pitch at Anfield. I also love the fact that we know now just a point will do on Sunday, so there'll be no nervousness if it's 1-1 with 5 minutes to go compared to, if you need to get that winner. So yeah, last night to me, going to bed, I just thought to myself, this feels like the perfect way for that situation to have unfolded last night. A point on Sunday, and I hope the lads express themselves and go out there and play with no fear because of it. So yeah, all in all, I think good night to be a Liverpool fan last night. Do you know what I didn't like though? Was some of the reporting from the likes of Sky saying Arsenal deny Liverpool the chance to be crowned Premier League champions. And I was like, they kind of didn't. They drew a game of football, and the right to become Premier League champions was in our hands, and it should be spoken about that way. So all Arsenal did last night was show once again why we are going to win the Premier League, which is the inconsistency. And I didn't like that reporting. It's like Liverpool, you should start with Liverpool have to wait until Sunday. That's fine, but this denying us anything crap, that needs to be stopped. Nothing was denied other than Crystal Palace maybe getting a late winner. Jason Irish Red said, Craig, I was kind of hoping that Richarlison would have to give us a guard of honour. Yeah, I'm more looking forward to Caicedo. That would be fun. Here's what you could have had kind of vibe. Well, you're out there winning the Europa Conference League. Here's what you could have had. A Premier League title. Guaranteed Champions League football again. That's my thoughts. Right, so on the trend poll, we've now had over 1,000 votes, and thank you so much to everyone that voted. Let's end that poll. And 79% of people say that it is the ones that are saying that Trent's leaving are correct. So it still feels like most people feel that Trent's going, although there's still a few people there with a positive outlook. I think that's the fairest I can be. I have a question to ask you guys, actually, if you'd mind. What was the Bunting score in the end? He was 5-1 as I was starting the stream, down to Rob Cross. I assume he did make a remarkable comeback, but I was really rooting for Stephen Bunting tonight because, one, obviously the Premier League darts tonight was in Liverpool. Two, he's a red through and through. And three, he's a really lovely man. And I know what that would have meant to him tonight, going out there again to play the Premier League in Liverpool. And when I seen he was 5-1 down, I was, my heart went out to him because I love Bunting. He's just such a nice guy. Love to meet him someday as well, but he got beaten 6-1, did he? That genuinely is a shame, because he always comes across as such a lovely man. Sunil, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Said Hansen or Van Dijk. I read that first in my mind as Huijsen or Van Dijk. So I only caught the tail end of Jockey's career, so probably not fair of me. But anyone that watched Alan Hansen playing, I've only ever heard people speak in glowing terms about Jockey as a centre back. So not really for me to say, Sunil, but I feel like I can say of my lifetime watching the Premier League, Virgil van Dijk's got to be in any Premier League all-time 11. That's the fairest I can be with it. Joe McDougall said Ebu was happy to come to us. He even filmed his own intro video. If his mood has changed so much, there could be other things at play. So let me just say, on Ebu's welcome video, definitely my favourite one for any player that comes to Liverpool. That was epic. That was perfect. And I think, Joe, the only thing that maybe, I want to say changing his mind because I don't know, but the only thing that may be putting some doubt in his mind is Paris. I think if it was any other club, I don't know if Ibrahim Konate would have any potential doubts. And again, I got to say, I don't know if Ibu is having doubts, but I could understand with a year to go, if PSG were in his ear, it is his city. I can understand it. I hope he stays, but I'm just saying, I don't think there's anything else at play. I just think that maybe that's it. That, and of course, the number wage-wise that he's asking for. It'll be weird if he doesn't. What's this? If he doesn't get to come to terms with him going and Bradley live down the road from me, so just Marty. I'm waiting for him to say that he's off. I'm just tired of the whole thing. We've got two of the three parts of the puzzle sorted and the outcomes that we wanted. Mohamed Salah to stay and Virgil van Dijk to stay. Foxy, I hope you're well, mate. You're in bed sick. Well, I hope you recover soon, my man. Nice to see you in the chat as always, sir. Right, let me go back to my notes. So, this is crazy, right? Liverpool in the Premier League this season have been the model of consistency. Again, credit Sky Sports for this graphic. But they went through and broke down Liverpool's first 16 games of the season and our last 17 games of the season. And it's actually really, really spooky. So, first 16 games, we amassed 39 points. Last 17 games, 40 points. Goals scored, 37 in the first 16, 38 in the last 17. Goals against, 16 in the first 16 games, 15 in the last 17 games. Clean sheets, both with 7. So 7 in the first 16, 7 in the last 17. Shots taken, we've had more in the last 17 games. We had 310 versus 256. We faced less shots, so we're defensively have gotten better, with 151 shots faced in the last 17 versus 163 shots faced in the first 16. XG was pretty much similar, 36.9% for the first, 36.4% for the last 17. And the distance covered per game as well is very interesting. 108.4 kilometres in the first 16 games, 107.4 kilometres in the last 17 games. So, like I said, the absolute model of consistency there from the Reds over the two halves of the season. Do you know how close Gerrard was to sign for Chelsea compared to Trent, and hope an emotional Anfield at the parade will change his mind? So, I remember Rick Parry talking about this, and Rick Parry said something along the lines of, the biggest mistake that Chelsea made was letting Steven Gerrard off Roman Abramovich's yacht, because apparently it had gotten that far. He'd sat down with Abramovich on the yacht, and Rick Parry said that once they let him out of that environment, back to Liverpool and his city and his people, he realised that he couldn't do it, what it meant to everybody, and that he couldn't make that step to leave Liverpool Football Club. So I think it's a very different situation, because Trent has been in the city all the way through. Yes, he's been protected and shielded from some of it by the club, which is understandable. But yeah, I think there's a big difference there in that Gerrard was on Abramovich's yacht really close. Sunil, how many leagues and Champions League will Slot end up with? Let's assume he's Liverpool manager till 2030. Oh man, that's an incredibly difficult question to answer. I'd love 3 more Premier Leagues and 1 European Cup. Yeah, without trying to be super greedy. Let's say 3 more Premier Leagues and 1 European Cup. But I don't know, man, because it's so difficult to look ahead. Don't know what way the league's going to be. Don't know if we're going to be facing the Man City that will have been relegated or not. Or, don't know what way football finance is going. So, here's the list of managers that won the Premier League in their first season. And credit Anfield Bulls for this post. So, Arne Slot, about to do it with Liverpool. Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, Carlo Ancelotti, and Manuel Pellegrini. It's very, very interesting to see the stats behind it. So the win rate, 72.7% for Slot, is lower than Mourinho's, lower than Conte's, but higher than Ancelotti's and higher than Pellegrini. The one stat that stands out there to me, though, is the goals against column, because Jose Mourinho's Chelsea in that 2004-2005 season were utterly ridiculous with regards to conceding. They only conceded 15 goals all season. Liverpool, 31 conceded so far this season. Antonio Conte, when he first won it, 33 conceded. Ancelotti, 32. Pellegrini, 37. Just goes to show you how good and solid defensively that Jose Mourinho team was. So for me, biggest thing is I want to see Liverpool come and try and defend this Premier League title next season. Because I'm still seething after the last one that we won and we didn't back it up by going and making a proper run at defending it. We need to do better at that next season, and that's what I'm hoping for. Right, so Joe Cole, the voice that nobody wants to hear at and from around Liverpool, but seemingly is always asked about it because he played for us for a little bit. Joe Cole has claimed that Harvey Elliott should leave Liverpool in the summer. This is what he had to say, speaking with Paddy Power. For players like Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones, I think they're both fantastic players, more than capable of playing for England. But unfortunately for them, Liverpool are very strong in that area of the pitch. Hasn't obviously been watching Liverpool much this season because Jones has gotten plenty of games, but okay. He said, I'd love to see Harvey playing regularly. There are options for him, and if he does become available, I think quite a few teams will be interested in him. He's a fantastic player. I'd like to see him leave Liverpool to play regular football because he's old enough and has done his time. I'd just love to see him play because he's such a fantastically talented player. Now, I never really want to listen to Joe Cole, but I don't disagree, and I'm confused about why Arne doesn't seemingly think he can play Harvey more. That's something that's confused me all season, but again, it does look like he's probably available. I think it was Melissa Reddy's piece that said he's certainly available to be sold this summer. Imagine Trent leaves and we win the league again and the Champions League, said Naman. So there was a piece today that said, Trent, the change of manager at Real Madrid is giving Trent reason for concern. I don't think that's the case. It's far more likely that it's going to be Xabi Alonso, who we know Trent idolises. So if anything, Alonso going to Madrid would make it more appealing rather than giving Trent a wobble. But this is what I just don't like. There are people out there with no concrete information trying to give Liverpool fans hope in the Trent situation. And then they'll be the very first ones to complain about a backlash when angry fans go online and make their feelings known. And they won't acknowledge that they've gaslit this situation. And that pisses me off because a lot of these people, again, love to get on their moral high horse and talk down to the rest of us, but won't admit they're gaslighting Liverpool fans. It really annoys me. Just say you don't know if you don't know. But we've been hearing that phrase, the club are confident on Trent, for a year. And why? What's giving them confidence? Because, Virgil's done, Mo's done. Where do they get the confidence from? And if they are, then why are very, very high-profile people like Romano and Ornstein saying that it's likely he goes to Madrid? Because it is likely he goes to Madrid, and I think that's how most of us feel. What else have we got? Jones is quality player. He stays, said Paul White. Oh, look, mate, I don't think there's any chance Curtis Jones leaves Liverpool this summer. And you know what? I would have to say this has been, for me, by far the best season of Curtis Jones' Liverpool career so far. Under Arne Slot, he looks like a different player. So give Arne Slot credit for that. Certainly put the belief into Curtis, and performances this season have been much better. Right. Let me just check in on my notes. So yeah, it was Football Insider that wrote this. Trent Alexander-Arnold could still reject a move to Real Madrid due to the ongoing uncertainty over the manager of the club. A potential contract renewal with Liverpool remains a possibility. No source, no nothing, just random nonsense thrown out there to get Liverpool fans' hopes up and get them to click. David Ornstein, again, kind of changing the narrative yesterday, where it was all Chelsea are the front runners, and it wasn't David that said that, but Chelsea are the front runners for Huijsen. Today he said the race for Huijsen's open, and I'm not aware of any front runners. So I did say to you guys yesterday, ignore all that London-centric pro-Chelsea crap that had been spouted in the media just because they'd worked with his agent in the past. Again, the young lad's career and the right decision from him is what's important here. And if anybody wants to look at the Caicedo situation, which is the same agent, well, how did that work out for Caicedo? You might have got the lad the bag, you might have gotten him more dough, but he's not winning the Premier League this year, is he? Could have. So, and also, again, like I pointed out yesterday, when Liverpool did lose that situation over Caicedo, there was no Hughes and no Edwards at the club. Particularly, I mean Edwards in that scenario, because he's far better of a negotiator. With all due respect to Schmadtke, I don't know what led Liverpool to that very late play for Caicedo, but if Edwards was at the club, I don't think we end up with that egg on our face, and I don't think we end up looking as foolish as we did. Josh Fry said, video idea, end of season player rating. Yeah, really good idea, Josh. Now, one thing I want to point out here, Josh, is I'm an idiot. Please remind me down the line, closer to the end of the season. Do you know what? Know what, Josh? I'm going to actually put it into my notes right now, mate, so I don't, because it is a cracking idea. 1 second. Okay. There we go. Video and topic ideas. 1 second. If I don't do these things like in the moment, mate, I'm terrible. Done. There we go, my man. It's in my notes. And thank you for the suggestion, Josh. Belt of an idea, mate. Guess who Cunha wants to join? Me, please, Jason. Me. I know the only team we were willing to pay for him. United, because they're the only ones silly enough to be falling over themselves to trigger that release clause, while other clubs needing a striker are all kind of... Yeah, it bangs of that's the best move for him and it's the best chance United can get. But I'd still question where they're getting the dough from. What do we reckon, by the way, happens with Marcus Rashford? Really interested to see what happens with his future. Yeah, really interesting to see what happens with his future. You know, Villa, if they don't get Champions League football, can they afford him? Will he want to stay there? I mean, he's made it clear he'd like to play Champions League football. Interesting to see what goes on and how much money United will get if he does move. Herman said, Craig, when are we going to see you in a Liverpool jersey? Mate, there are, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, probably hundreds of videos of me in Liverpool jerseys. Even one from this season. The reason I don't wear them is twofold. One, a personal reason of I feel very self-conscious and fat in a jersey because I'm fat. And again, I'm not saying that you were intending the question that way at all, but I feel very self-conscious about it. And secondly, I don't really like too many of the Nike kits that we've seen. You know, I did buy the black and teal one this season. And even at that, even wearing it around the house, I don't wear it that much. I'm just not a fan of Nike shirts too much. So when Adidas come back in, you know, you'll see me adorned in the Lifer Bird and the Adidas stuff. So yeah, man, I'm going to be very, very broke when that gear is officially released. I wish, God, I wish Adidas showed us some love, because if anybody's repped Adidas in the Liverpool circles more than me, I mean, I just don't believe it. I've watched my videos all the way through the Nike era. Adidas, 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 and I've been bigging them up. So Adidas, if you're watching, come show a fat man some love. Saw the look on Trent's face in that post-match interview, and it said everything for me. He's off unless Liverpool offer him parity with VVD and Salah. 300k is not enough for this guy. So I guess, Sunil, to follow up your thought process, I've always wondered, is there two prices? Is there a number for Madrid and a number for Liverpool? And I've always thought, again, mate, just thinking out loud here, that the Madrid number is lower, if that makes any sense. Because if he joins Real Madrid, I guarantee you're going to see headlines out very quickly that talk about how far he went to join Madrid, how long ago it was decided, how much less money he's making there than he could have made elsewhere. And that's the playbook in Madrid world. So I think that's what's going to happen. The stories it was always abundantly clear. He was being respectful of his club. He turned down more money at Liverpool to come and play here as Real Madrid player. Watch those. Guarantee it's going to happen. Koopy said, Craig, I'm getting sick of people saying we're the worst Premier League champions. Teams below us shining this year in Europe. If they would say this, if City were top, they wouldn't, mate. And they always tried to undermine us. Sure, when we won the first Premier League title, they couldn't even acknowledge that we had to wait 30 years for that league title and show a bit of grace about it and go, do you know what, fair play. No, it was COVID title doesn't count, asterisks. This season, new manager, everyone expecting us to be lambs to the slaughter, talking about us maybe not even qualifying for Champions League, winning the league at a canter, and it's because everybody else is underperforming. So you're absolutely spot on. It's bullshit. It's sour grapes. And it also isn't our problem. And you're right, mate. If this was Arteta's Arsenal about to win the league this year, the headlines and the narrative would be very, very, very different. Now, to be fair, I don't aim that part at journalists, because there have been a lot of journalists who have given Liverpool their credit. So I'm aiming this more in the football fandom circles than anything. This constant need to undermine any achievement from Liverpool, it feels weird. It almost feels like it's an us against everybody else scenario at times, and heck, maybe it is, I don't know. But, as I've mentioned, if Arsenal win a Champions League, and I've said this so many times, I'll credit them and I'll say they did it the hard way, because they will have. And all I would hope for and expect from opposition fans is that same level of decency and respect to be given to Liverpool fans. Yeah, that's a really good idea. So Mark has put forward a lovely little add-on to Josh's video idea, which is brilliant. So Josh, to add to what you've said, I'll do the player ratings, but what we'll also do is we'll get you guys to vote your player ratings on the players for the year, and Connor will average them out, and then we'll compare my player ratings for the players for the year versus yours. So thank you to Mark for that. It's a lovely little add-on to Josh's very good idea from earlier. And remember, if ever you do want to submit your player ratings, always look in the match reaction. There's a link pinned to the top of the chat. And what we're probably going to add in as well in the future is a few mail-outs, if you guys are interested, letting you know what's coming up on the channel, letting you know the live shows we're doing and where we're doing them. So we're probably going to start a mailing list at some point, because, mindful that people sometimes don't always see the streams, and there are information we'd like people to have. So, again, appreciate all of your support this season. It just proves to me, especially Arsenal's squad is not good enough starting 11, but squad isn't. Arsenal have been too inconsistent this season. What is it, 13, 14 draws, something like that across the season for Arsenal? And And they've never really put a run of games together without dropping points at any point. This is what I've said all year when people kept fearing that Arsenal were going to come back and claw the lead back. They've never shown the ability to do it all season. And that's why it's probably the Champions League that's been their best chance this season, because when they get it right, Arsenal, and they're on it, they're a very good team. A really good team. Well coached, well disciplined, with good talent. But too often, they draw blanks and they draw silly games. They should have beaten us at the Emirates, but they didn't. They were cowards and they tried to run to the corner, and that cost them, and we got an equaliser. So yeah, but I'm still going to say the same. If Arteta doesn't win something this year, when does the pressure come on him? Because that'll be one FA Cup in 6 years with 700 or 800 million spent. Alex said, yep, I don't want Arsenal to win the Champions League. 2 reasons. 1, I'll never hear the end of it. And 2, everybody will overshadow Liverpool's league success with Arsenal's Champions League glory. So no, thank you. Look, if they win the Champions League, all I can say is I will come on and credit them for what would be a huge achievement, especially for their club's first one. 2 things can be right at once, I guess. We can have a remarkable season, win the Premier League and enjoy doing it, and they can have a fantastic triumph in the Champions League. They have a long way to go yet to get there, but as I've said, I've tried to be honest about this. If you knock out Real Madrid, if you then knock out PSG, and if you were to beat an Inter Milan / Barca in a final, that's an achievement, and that deserves to be recognised. But they haven't done it yet. Oh, and the injury stuff as well that they love to cry arse about. I think they need to start looking more inwardly at their manager around those injuries and to why they were getting some of them. And I think he overplayed players too much. Sunil said, I can see a 3-horse race next season, maybe a race to 90 points. What do you think? So I think Arsenal will be there next season, pushing thereabouts, no matter what happens. I really just don't know what to make of Manchester City, though, Sunil, at the minute, because their business over the last year or two, it doesn't feel as good as their previous business when they were building that squad. I know Rodri to come back in will make a huge difference. I'm just unsure about them and what level they're going to be able to get back up to, because the peak, that Manchester City team were just a machine of grinding out wins. So I'm unsure how big of a threat they're going to be. And also then you take into account them and Chelsea participating in the Club World Cup. So less rest and more minutes in their legs. What impact will that then have? But a race to 90 points would be a race that Arsenal have never been able to get to. Because 89, I think, is the best under Arteta. We're still on for a potential, is it 94-point season? No, I don't think we get there. I think we end up at about 87 points, something like that, 88. But I think a race to 90 points would certainly be putting you right there in the mix for the title. And I think next season, again, you're going to see teams beating teams, because there's some good teams in the Premier League. Like, to see the football Bournemouth play the time has been top-notch. Brighton will probably get more consistent next year when the new manager has a full season under his belt. Villa are going in the right direction as a club and, have very ambitious owners with a great coach. Chelsea, who knows what to expect from them. Spurs won't be anywhere near the top of the league table, and, it'll be interesting. I don't know what to expect. Pep has lost his mojo. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It annoys me how much he gets away with spitting, though. Like, every time the camera pans to Pep, he's spitting. Every single time. And I don't like it. I just find it weird that it doesn't get called out more. Like, players spitting on the pitch is different because they're running their, maybe they need to clear their throat or something. But he's just constantly like that all the time. And it looks like the man just needs more hydration, because it's always that, that white spit that you get when you've got no fluid left in your mouth. As Liz would say to me, hydrate. Hydrate, Pep. Do you think we'll challenge next season? Yeah, I do. Look, we know Dave next, or excuse me, not Dave, sorry, Eddie. My apologies. I was reading one of Dave's comments. Eddie, lovely to see you again, my friend. Yeah, I do think we'll challenge next season because we've got Virgil and we've got Mo, and that's going to give us a chance. We've got Alisson Becker, that's going to give us a chance. So it'll be interesting to see if we can take some of the burden off Mo with regards to goals and assists, somewhere else they may come from. It'll be interesting to see quite how many changes that the manager makes, but if we at least get to a place where we don't have 14 or 15 players that are available, they're a real 17 or 18, I think that will help us with consistency across the season. And yeah, I'm going into it next season thinking Champions League football's a gimme, in all honesty, next season. I'd be like, do we necessarily win the league? I don't think anybody can say 100% before league starts you're going to win the league, but I at least want to feel like we can, and we can defend it. What's this one? So, again, credit to David McGrady on this, and Mark sent it on to me. He said, Luis Diaz could make his 100th Premier League appearance when Liverpool host Spurs on Sunday. The attacker arrived from Porto in January 2022, can become the 60th Liverpool player to reach a century of outings in the competition. Nice, and well done to Lucho. Again, it's a very weird situation seeing him linked with moves away because I can't understand why, unless it's his side. But only this week he was speaking very fondly about Liverpool again. Oh, and on the gig. So, Cork is winning. Let me just put that out there. I've had quite a few emails from Corkonians asking about a live show. So we have a spot for August and we have a spot for September that we can squeeze in a live show. I'd like to do one in Ireland and I'd like to do one abroad somewhere. And so far, Cork, I asked for Cork and Galway to show some suggestions to us, and Corkonians have been the ones on the ball. So far, we're leaning towards an Anfield Agenda show in Cork, maybe August time. And then we have another one that we want to get in for September. So again, any suggestions of a good venue for September, whether it be in the UK, Spain, Norway, anywhere, it doesn't really matter. But just to follow on from yesterday, because I did ask people, and Corkonians, well played. There is a few jokes I could make there, but it'd be very Irish and not a lot of people will get them. But our other shows, by the way, are selling very well. I got to say, very surprised, especially when we added the second one. So if you want to come and see us, May 25th, Hot Water Comedy Club Liverpool, or May 28th, Hot Water Comedy Club Liverpool. 2 different shows, 2 different vibes, but both of them celebrating the season. Then you can get your tickets with the QR code or the link in the description. And my trophy, the full-size Premier League one, it's in Ireland now. It's not at my house yet, but I did have a look and it has arrived safe and sound, and it is awaiting dispatch from the courier company. So I might have that full replica Premier League trophy very soon, and I will of course show you guys when it arrives. And if you're coming to the shows in Liverpool, you're going to get a chance to get a picture with it and celebrate with us. We've also got 10 of these that we're bringing over, 10 mini Premier League trophies we're going to give away at the live shows as well to the people that do the best creative trophy lifts. Danny Bingham said, Cork's a great show. Also, Glasgow, where I'm from, is a huge Liverpool fan base. Would you believe I've never been to Scotland? Ever. I've been to Wales, England, of course. Never been to Scotland. I've never had a reason to go to Scotland, so I've never been. But yeah, Scotland sounds like as good a shout as anywhere, especially if it's September, August, and it's not freezing. Wesley said, I vote Charlotte, North Carolina for the international show. It won't be in America, Wesley. America said no to Craig and Connor already when we tried to do a show in Boston, when we lost $6,000 on it. That still stings, mate. So we won't be looking to go back to America at all, unfortunately, with regards to a show. But Canada, absolutely on the table, and anywhere else in the world. But yeah, because of that little experience we had with the Department of Homeland Security and trying to go to a show in Boston. We're not going through that again. Edinburgh, said Neil Caldwell. Again, I just need to find the right venues. Edinburgh's a good show, and we certainly know there's loads of Reds up there and in Glasgow. It's all about finding the right venue for us. So we usually try to do something between, let's say, 150, 250 seater venue, something around that number is kind of our sweet spot, I think. So if you can suggest venues and we can find availability, that's what we need. And again, that's what I love you guys for. Thank you so much for all of your help on that, by the way. Martin said, do you think a traditional right back would free up number 10? Good shout, that, Martin, because I remember reading a piece, it was this week actually, I think, from Dominic Soboslai that said that a lot of his work now is covering in on that right-hand side. So, yeah, perhaps if we do have a right back who maybe isn't looked to create as much as Trent does, it could free up the number 10 to be more advanced and maybe not have to fill in as much on the right hand side. So I think there's definitely some sense to that, Martin. It's one of those intriguing spots though, because Kirkes, I think we all know, will probably be the number one target on the left. But what happens on the right, I'm very, very interested about, because obviously Conor Bradley deserves the shot at the starting position at right back. But who you add in to supplement or compete with Conor, I think is going to be very interesting. Just Marty said, Glasgow, it's 2 hours there and 6 hours to Cork. I live in Belfast. Well, we've been to Belfast. We were there in Belfast last year. Lovely, lovely night in Belfast. Remember meeting Mary and others up there, and absolutely cracking place. Yeah, loved their time in Belfast, mate. You don't need to convince me to go to Belfast. I love Belfast. But yeah, Cork feels like it'd be good fun. So we'll maybe look at Cork, and if anybody else has a venue they can suggest to us, maybe Edinburgh, Glasgow, somewhere like that. So Norway's a great shout as well. I know Marcus and a few others have said to us about coming over to Norway. I know Norway's full of loads of great Liverpool fans, man, so I'd love to go over to Norway. I missed your super chat on Pep, did I, Sunil? Sorry, mate, let me scroll back through. Yep, cool. Sorry, mate, I'm using two different systems at the minute, Sunil, to block out all the bots and scummy stuff about my child and all the other stuff. So I'm using two different systems to filter out that. So apologies, mate, that I missed it, but here it is here. With Pep, it all depends on the verdict. Please just get on with it. Guilty or not guilty, what are we getting? When are we getting to know? So there was a report the other day that suggested that, and again, just to bring this one up to acknowledge again, thank you, that said it's been delayed a little bit. So it was expected we'd get it in March or April, but now it looks like that findings of the panel are so complicated in this case that it's going to be delayed again. And whatever happens, though, you're going to see it appealed by one or the other, and it's going to drag into next season. So we'll get the headline of either Manchester City are found guilty of X, Y, or Z, or Manchester City are found not guilty, and either side appeal, and then it drags on for another 7. So it'll probably be another season, which will be an absolute piss take. And I think this whole situation with Manchester City have made the Premier League look... I think it's undermined some of the integrity of the league, because it's gone on far too long. And it almost feels like you drag it out to hope that people become exhausted defending it, or answering the charges, or putting money forward to put the time and resources needed to hold City to account. And also, it allowed that time for Manchester City to win so much that people then start to associate them as this big club, but how they got to that point and whether they play by the rules gets swept under the carpet. And that's what annoys me about it. Because let's remember how we got to this point and why they were being looked at. And the longer it goes on, the more desensitized people become to it. Season player ratings from games already voted on. I don't know what that means. No, we're going to do an end of season player ratings for the players. So somebody suggested earlier on where I go through and list, let's say, the 15 most used players and rate their season out of 10. And then you guys do the same. So we'll put a link out a few days beforehand to give people a chance. Steve said Toronto show. Ooh, would love it. Toronto would take a couple of boxes for me, Steve. My wife has family over there in kind of Mississauga area. So get to meet up with some family. So that'll be a big tick. And also, I haven't been to Toronto for 20 years. My daughter's first birthday we spent in Toronto. And my daughter turns 21 this year. So it would be lovely to go back to Toronto 20 years after we celebrated my daughter's first birthday there. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Add up the existing ratings from all the games this season to remove recency bias. No, recency bias is fun, Steve. It's fun. Do you know what though? I'll always admit that when I do my player ratings after a game, there's definitely things that I haven't had a chance to process yet that probably will change my rating. So I think the way you're speaking about recency bias, I totally get. But the other way for me, it's a lack of time to adequately prepare for the ratings. That makes me often undermine myself. So while I've forgotten an instant in a game, and that could have given a player half a point or removed half a point because everything just happened so quick for me on a match day, I don't have a chance to properly digest everything and rewatch it. So yeah, I like the idea of going back. So I love the interaction from everyone though. Thank you. Like you're all full of great ideas tonight. Rob said, how come when clubs from the Championship go down are punished straight away, but it takes a very long time for City? I think it's the complexity is the argument that we'd hear in that regard. Quite how difficult and I don't even proclaim to understand like forensic accounting and where money was moved to or not moved to and lots of other things, where managers were paid or not paid under the table, or sponsorship deals where they're really paid by X or by Y. A lot of that stuff is, I would imagine, exhaustive to delve through. But what I don't like about it all is the secrecy of it. Football has a real problem with transparency, and I don't like it. Lee said, I think with City, once the verdict is reached, that should be it. No appeal either way. Guilty, if not the same. So what I will say to you is it can't be appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. That's written into the Premier League rules. So it can't be appealed there. So whatever this decision is, if let's say City were found not guilty, right? The Premier League could accept that. The Premier League could say, okay, well, we accept those findings. Or they could challenge them, vice versa. If look, I expect Manchester City to appeal if they get found guilty of even 10% of the things they've already been charged with, because they want to be adamant and prove that they've done no wrong. I'm still laughing at that tyranny of the majority nonsense that they tried to come out with. But it's like you've got people like La Liga and stuff kind of not mocking the Premier League, but like it is easy to see how people can look at the Premier League and think it's a bit of a laughing stock around this City situation, because it's not a great look for the Premier League when you've got one club consistently like going into the room and throwing a smoke bomb into it and going, deal with that, because we have unlimited resources and we could just keep throwing lawsuit. So the associated party transactions thing, there was an article a couple of weeks ago that suggested just the new appeal on that from City could cost £20 million to the Premier League. So there's also, are the owners of all these Premier League clubs and the Premier League going to come tired of financing these challenges with Manchester City? And again, it comes into football being about money. And that's what's turned a lot of people away. Right, let's recap. Let's recap on some of the news for people who may be watching the darts and coming in a bit later to join us. And thank you for being here. Quite a lot to get through today, so we'll go all the way back to this morning's video and go from there. So Fabrizio Romano, on Chelsea being the favourites for Huijsen, said Huijsen has not made a decision yet on his future. Chelsea will be there, but also Liverpool's interest is genuine. They want him. Arsenal are also pushing. Then we went on to Florian Plettenberg, who said, what makes the release clause for Dean Huijsen even more interesting is that the £50 million does not have to be paid immediately. It's being contractually agreed that the clause can be paid in 3 instalments. All interested clubs have been informed of this. Talks with several clubs are ongoing. No decision has been made yet. Then we spoke about the post from Davos E. Kopp that said Liverpool could earn £177 million from winning the Premier League this season. The breakdown of that would be £95 million from the equal share that goes to all clubs, £56.4 million from the title winning amount, TV appearances £25 million, international TV bonuses just over £8 million, and all of that could see Liverpool make £177 million. Right, Calcio Mercato say Liverpool forward Federico Chiesa wants to return to Serie A and interest from Inter, Napoli and Roma. So this is going to go down for me as one of the most confusing Liverpool transfers of the Premier League era. Nobody didn't agree that it was worth a punt for Chiesa. Liverpool fans, when we signed him, and still now, are optimistic. And he's a very likeable guy. So it's easy to see why he's won us all over. His welcome to the club video was very heartwarming, and he was so happy to be here. He always has a smile on his face and, never publicly complains. So this situation is really weird. What the hell has gone on there that has seen him not given a chance? And all, like I've always said, is the only thing I can think of is that he was a signing Ireland didn't ask for, and he's making a stance on it that give me players I ask for, and if you try to force a player down my throat, well, then they're going to sit on the bench. But it's also a £7 million a year headache for Liverpool wage-wise because we haven't utilised them. Not the player's fault. David Ornstein then said the race for Huijsen is open, and I'm not aware of any front runners. Football Insider had a story that I don't agree with, saying Trent Alexander-Arnold could still reject a move to Real Madrid due to the ongoing uncertainty over their manager. Potential contract renewal with Liverpool remains a possibility. That was then backed up to some extent by The Echo, who wrote, and this is a sub part of this, The Echo reported yesterday that the Reds are still hopeful a deal can be struck with Trent to join Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk in extending their time at the club. Again, I don't believe that's the case. Then we had Dean Jones Soccer and Gimme Sport saying that Liverpool are confident of striking a deal for Dean Huijsen. Liverpool have held positive talks with his agent and there's optimism. Huijsen's camp view Anfield as the likely destination. Now, I would turn around to let you pat me on the back, but anybody remember a few days ago when a certain bald Irish idiot told everybody that Huijsen and his camp looked at Anfield as the preferred destination? You don't see it reported, of course, because our channel only ever gets blacklisted by the mainstream accounts, and I don't mean the fan aggregate accounts, I mean the other mainstream ones. But I told you that the other day before any of the journalists were breaking it, and I stand over it now. I can't say 100% we're going to sign him, but I told you not to be worrying about the Chelsea links, and that in his players' camp side, they view Anfield as the best fit. So let's see if that happens or not. But again, I'm somebody that probably gets news on 10% of potential Liverpool stuff. But when I get it, it's usually quite strong news, and it's usually stuff I bring to you guys with no hesitation. But if I don't know something, I'm not afraid to say I don't know it either. But on this one, I said it to you guys, and I'm standing over it. And you can see why, like just looking at it with common sense. Chelsea, the other club, bit of a basket case at the minute with regards to where they're at. So many signings. Will they get Champions League football? Will they really be able to give minutes to develop them? There's a lot there. With Liverpool, you've got a manager who's just won the league, one of the best centre-backs to ever do it to guide and help him come through, an uncertain situation around two players already at the club in Kwanzaa and Ibrahima Konate, The money, certainly there for Liverpool to do it, as we've said. We've got the Richard Hughes impact there as well, of course, having brought him to Bournemouth originally. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out, which is why I was so defensive yesterday over these stories saying Chelsea were leading the race, because I think it was just people bullshitting, quite frankly. Other than Miguel Delaney. I won't ever speak badly about Miguel Delaney, because Miguel Delaney is a great journalist. But there was a lot of other stories that were a lot more dismissive of Liverpool, let's say. So, DH Acco said, as a big Liverpool fan outside of the city, I've never felt like Scouser see me as a proper red. As a fan out of the city too, was wondering if you ever feel this. So, I'm going to answer this question as honestly as I can, but I also want to make sure that you're aware I can't make a sweeping statement about a whole group of people in any way. So, the people who have made me feel like I'm not a real Liverpool fan aren't my fellow Liverpool fans. They aren't the Scousers in the city that I've met. It's the institutions around Liverpool Football Club that, for me, have tried to keep me down and our channel down. So I'm talking about The Echo. I'm talking about other Scouts-run Liverpool accounts, podcasts, shows, all looking down their noses at us. And that is what I feel I can speak to. The only time I've ever experienced, and it wasn't even directly, because it was indirectly, because I just think somebody heard our accent. The only time I've ever experienced anything in Liverpool was myself and my mate Ken went to the Merseyside derby where we beat Everton 4-0. It was the one where we had Brendan Rodgers as manager and they had Roberto Martinez, and it was the one that Lukaku did his ACL in. So we went to that game and we were walking back through Stanley Park to the coach, because the coaches park all around Stanley Park. And me and Ken were talking and laughing, as were a lot of other Irish people, because we were all walking back to the same coach. Excuse me. And there was a voice behind us that said, this is the problem. Real fans can't get in because of people like those lads. And that's the only time I've ever experienced it in person. But I've always said there is an agenda against their channel from certain institutions, and I will firmly say that I think some of that is to do with the fact I'm not Scouts, yes. But with regards to my fellow Liverpool fans, can't say I've really experienced it too much. I always find Scousers to be more than welcoming. I don't know if it's because I'm Irish and that's very close, but that's my honest opinion on it, mate. Others will give you their own life experiences, but I think it just winds people up that we're the most watched Liverpool fan channel in the world and we're not from Liverpool. But it's also not my fucking problem, because I love the club and I love the city, and I'm obviously okay at what I do, or people wouldn't tune in. That's the fairest I can be about it. And it's wound me up. Honestly, it has, especially with the Echo, because they never credit us for anything. They'll talk about every other Liverpool account on the planet, big or small, and they'll never credit us, ever. And that winds me up. And that isn't an accident, in my opinion. So my opinion is, well, okay, keep trying to doubt us and I'll ram it back down your throat, because somebody gave me a bit of advice once and said, be undeniable. Let your numbers speak for themselves, and that's what we're trying to do. But again, would never make a sweeping statement about a whole group of people, though, because, people are, look, I guess, to speak to some defence as well, I get it that Scousers are protective of their city. I get it. They've suffered injustices, they've suffered hurt, they've been looked down upon, and there is a siege mentality of type, which I love. It's one of the reasons I love Scousers, because they're so supportive and defensive of their city and their people, and I fucking love them for it. It's very similar to being Irish. So I get it in one way, but there are always going to be some people who go a bit too far with it, and some people who will try to keep you down as a fan. I mean, I hope that makes sense. You've never felt that at the shows? Absolutely not. No. Every time we go to Liverpool, man, we are welcomed with open arms by people in the city, by the venue. As I've said, my problem has only been with some institutions around media that I've had, not with fans. There are always going to be people that don't like me and think I'm an arsehole. That's fine. That's life. Some of those will be from Liverpool. Some of those will be from Ireland. Some of those will be from elsewhere. That's life. That's fine. Petter said, Craig, you ain't getting Cole Palmer. Let me say this really, really clearly. I don't want him. Couldn't be any clearer about that, Petter. I don't want Cole Palmer at Liverpool. I don't think he's good enough for Liverpool. I don't think he fits in at Liverpool. I don't want him. I would much rather a Morgan Rogers or somebody else, mate. So you won't be looking at me pushing and banging that drum. I reported on it because somebody else did, but I really don't want him at Liverpool, in all honesty. And you should be more concerned about why the stories of him maybe wanting to leave your club already. Not good enough. No, he's not. Like, he's too inconsistent this season. And it's not that he's not good enough, because he's obviously a talented footballer, but I just don't think he fits in to the way we play. And I really just don't think we need him, is more the honest answer. If we're to bring in somebody in that ilk, as I've said, I think there are better options that would be far more realistic. Like Chelsea are gonna want 100 million upwards for Cole Palmer. That ain't Liverpool, mate. We ain't paying that. Colin said, Craig, I'm born and raised in Liverpool. Liverpool fan's a Liverpool fan. Like I've said, mate, this wasn't. I was only answering a question. And I've never felt like a second class citizen by other Scousers. It's the institutions that I've been speaking about that try to keep us down. You're entitled to your opinion, but I strongly disagree. So let's just recap this, Petter. You came into my stream, said you're not getting Cole Palmer, posted it twice in the space of a minute or two. I then said don't want him, and now you're getting offended because I said he's not good enough. Which one do you fucking want? Do you want to keep Cole Palmer and me to sit here and tell you we want him? Or do you want to just understand that I don't give a shite about Cole Palmer and don't want him at the club? You know, so I'm giving you the answer that you should want, but yet you're still arguing back to me over it for some reason. You can be a fan of him as much as you want. He's a Chelsea player. You should be a fan of him. But, you know, you came in with an argumentative attitude to say you're not getting Cole Palmer, and I'm just saying to you, mate, I couldn't give a shite. I don't want them. It's that simple. No big deal about it. Just don't want them. Not even in my FPL team. That's how little I want them. John and Tom Werner out said Julian Alvarez just scored a great goal for Atletico Madrid. What a player. Now him, I do want. There are some players I'm wondering, am I deluded just thinking that's possible? And one of the ones that I think is possible is Anthony Gordon. And I don't know if I'm deluded about thinking that could happen this summer. The Liverpool Prophet said Craig Moe will get absolutely shredded for ghosting one game versus PSG, but Mbappe can ghost the big game versus Arsenal, and Palmer can ghost half a season and get away with it. That's because, like I've said, man, our club seems to be getting held to a different standard in the media at times on certain things. The only thing that annoyed me with the PSG ties were I felt our manager was too respectful. And that's even a weird complaint for me to have about Arne, but I would like a bit more of a combative nature to him in those ties rather than the amount of compliments he gave. You know, because from PSG side, they were like, we're coming to win. We're knocking Liverpool out. We believe we're a better team. As they should be saying. I wanted that back from us, and I just felt it was a bit too nicey. I like a little bit of needle. Joshua said, should have bought him when he was at River Plate. What could have been? Yeah, definitely. City got a bargain when they signed Julian Alvarez from River Plate for that money. Do you know, it is a little bit strange, though, to see stories of him maybe being disappointed with how the season's gone at Atletico Madrid this year and maybe looking for a way out already. Um, but I tell you what, if there was any chance, even over Isak, man, I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's my number one striker target, even though I don't think it's realistic. But yeah, without a doubt, he'd be the one for me. A live show on deadline day would be wild. You mean a live show stream or live show in person? Because that is a cool idea. The in person one. Yeah, that I mean, I'm just trying. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out in my head how that could look on stage, but God, that would be fun. I don't be doing that to me, man. You'd be putting mad ideas in my head now, but appreciate you. If you're talking about a live stream, we usually do that anyway, but a live event could be fun. Hmm. That is fun. I'm interested. You've got my attention. Right, look, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight because I've got another video to record and a few bits and pieces to do. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 8:45 for the late night agenda. Saturday night, I'm not going to be streaming, as I mentioned, just to give you a bit of a heads up on that one in advance. We're going to be watching the Chris Eubank Conor Benn fight. So yeah, we're going to be enjoying that one, sitting back, feet up, and of course getting prepared then for Sunday when, fingers crossed, the Reds are crowned Premier League champions. 1 point to go. It should be this weekend against Spurs. Hopefully it's a game that we play with swagger and really put Spurs to the sword. But look, again, thank you to everybody who came in tonight, shared time with us. Appreciate you. Thank you to our sponsors as well, Surfshark. Don't forget about their incredible offer. And thank you to you guys for a really fun night as well. Much love to you as always. We'll see you tomorrow.